So I came across this story on Professor Black Truth's Twitter page, and it's going to talk about this Boogaloo Boy member whose name is Ivan Hunter. Now, before I get into it, I don't know which one is him. I don't know if it's the one in the front or if it's the one in the back, but one of these two is the guy that I'm talking about in this story. So if someone can let me know down in the comments, unless I find out sooner who this guy is, can you please let me know, like, which one of the guys in the picture is him? But I want to assume that it's the one without the mask. But anyway, this guy right here was charged in an attack on the Minneapolis police precinct during the George Floyd protest. Like, they're just now officially charging him. Now, if y'all remember, I had did a video about someone else completely different months ago when they had found out that it was somebody who had involvement with that precinct as well. I wonder if it was the same person. I can't remember because, like I said, they really didn't talk about it that much at all. Like, you saw like one little piece here and that was it, and you didn't really hear about it ever again. But I'm going to go ahead and read this article coming from abcnews.go.com. A self-described member of the Boogaloo Boys has been charged with participating in a riot after he allegedly shot 13 rounds from an AK-47 style assault rifle into a Minneapolis Police Department building during the civil unrest following the death of George Floyd in late May. So this could be somebody different because the person I talked about back in May or early June was responsible for burning down the precinct. And this says this guy was responsible for shooting it up. See, these individuals had ulterior motives. They weren't really coming there because of the whole thing with George Floyd. They were coming there because they saw that as an opportunity to act on their own impulses. Like, they had their own motives. Ivan Hunter, age 26, is accused of traveling from Texas to Minneapolis to meet with other members of the Boogaloo Boys with the goal of carrying out acts of violence during the riots. And they saw that as a perfect opportunity. See, these individuals, these are what you call your agitators. And I actually went and looked up how far Texas is from Minnesota. Let's just say that this guy was determined to come up there to engage in the BS. Because when I went and found out how far Texas is from Minneapolis or vice versa, it said it is roughly around 16 hours, depending on what part of Texas you're in, because it calculated from Austin. So I don't know which part of Texas he was coming from, but it's a lengthy drive. So this guy was determined to come up there and do what he did and engage in what he did. And then they want to throw onto us that is black people doing this. And this is no defense to BLM, but they love to throw their name in there as well. Meanwhile, you have these are your true culprits right here. The FBI describes the Boogaloo Boys as a loosely connected group driven by militant anti-government sentiments. I wonder why they don't give them the title of WIE, because you know when they came up with that terminology, black identity extremists, it was only because they say, oh, black people basically are spreading the harsh truth about what's really going on in society. But these individuals are actually carrying out domestic terroristic style acts that involve weapons and possibly death. But they don't get the same title. That's why when they brought up about BIE, what was it, last year or the year before, that palm colored man who tried to defend it so bad got chewed out by that black woman on that stand because he knew it was some BS. That BIE was some of the biggest crock of shit that they could have ever come up with. And that's a laundry list of things that can go on the shit list. Of course, that one's one of them. Members of the group regularly refer to the Boogaloo Boys as Boogaloo as an impending civil war they expect will be incited by accelerationist acts of terror. Federal investigators said they reviewed video of Hunter firing rounds with his AK-47 style assault rifle into the 3rd Precinct building while looters were still inside, and that he also helped assist them in setting the building on fire. According to an FBI affidavit, after shooting into the building, Hunter high-fived another individual and while walking towards the camera yelled "Justice for Floyd." Don't let him say that throw you off of the fact of why they were really there. He only said that because he wanted to make it seem like he was actually there for that for George Floyd. And why did he say justice for Floyd? Why didn't he say his full name? Why did he say just his last name? That shows you right there, he probably was not completely aware of what the hell was going on. All he saw was civil unrest and said, I gotta drive from Texas to Minneapolis to engage in it and then leave. But notice he made himself be known. It's almost like he wanted to be caught. But look at when they just now charging him for something that happened back in May. The affidavit additionally states that Hunter was pinned as the shooter by an unidentified cooperating defendant. Hunter is the third Boogaloo Boy member to face federal charges for his role in the Minneapolis riots, along with Michael Solomon and Benjamin Teeter, who were previously indicted on charges of conspiracy to provide material support for a foreign terrorist organization. All three were communicating and coordinating their movements regularly through the night of the riots, according to the FBI affidavit. During the course of the FBI's investigation of Hunter, they additionally found he was connected to the Boogaloo Boys member Stephen Carrillo, who has been separately charged in the murder of a federal protective officer in Oakland, California. You notice that they're not really putting out there in mainstream media all of this stuff for the most part that I'm reading. And that's not surprising because it's all by design. They don't want, now had this Ivan Hunter been a black man, oh, they would have blew that up, and then they would attach him to BLM and Antifa. The two are alleged to have exchanged messages immediately after both the arson of the 3rd Precinct building and the murder of the FPS officer, where Carrillo stated he was currently in hide mode. Responding to a message from Hunter where he stated Carrillo should go for police buildings, Carrillo allegedly responded, I did better, LOL. After the riots, Hunter also posted to Facebook bragging about his actions in Minneapolis, writing, I helped the community burn down that police station in Minneapolis, adding, I didn't protest peacefully, dude. Want something to change? Start risking felonies for what is good. He also wrote that BLM protesters loved me, fire team, and I. Somehow I doubt it. I doubt that was the case, but he had to give himself cover. He had to cover his own ass by saying that. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota said Hunter was taken into custody Wednesday, and it was not immediately clear as of Friday afternoon whether he had an attorney assigned to his case. Well, there you go. But you got, like I said, this guy had a determining factor. He was determined to come from Texas to Minneapolis to engage in some shit. That's why a lot of the times when it comes to stuff like this and you have these rioters out here and they're doing it, don't always assume that it's just black people because mainstream media says that it is. And it's unfortunate that you have so many black people that want it to be black people so bad so they can have some shit to talk about, but they ain't got no smoke for people like this guy. That's why you have people like myself and Professor Black Truth and Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, Harvey, Lisa Cabrera, True Royal Family, all the people, one LVZ, the people that talk about this kind of stuff, because we're going to come at it from a very unbiased standpoint. And we're going to talk about it as much as we can. Because leave it up to some of us, they won't talk about this because the guy is white. And some of them, we have the nerve to call others a coon and Sambo and whatever else when they are the ones that are deserving of that title and that label. But this also shouldn't be surprising because I've done several stories since then on a smaller scale where you've had palm-colored people engaging in this kind of activity. Maybe not to this extreme. They might have just broken a glass window to a store or something like that. But they always do it, but they give them so much cover. But the minute they can spot a black person involved, then they'll blow it up. Because they always have to attach us to something of violence because society at large has told them and told us for years that we are the most violent people. Well, I highly beg to differ. And this guy is very proud of what he did. He has no remorse for what he did, and I don't expect him to. Like when he said justice for Floyd, that's how I knew right then and there he wasn't there for an actual cause. He was there to be destructive. And he pretty much said that right then and right there. He said, you're not going to get what you want peacefully, so why not just go balls deep and go the fuck in? Like I said, the only thing is that when that happens, we get left holding the damn bag. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments.